You find that which you truly love as some of the earliest thoughts in the morning, and you bask in it. You don't say, well, I got that I really love. No, you bask in it. You are there in the great field of becoming. And the great field of becoming is not bored with you. And opportunities begin to come in fascinating ways. You are not boring God. You are co-creating the universe with the great oneness.
Welcome to Living in the Miracle Zone. This is the place to be if you want to live in the flow of synchronicities and miracles in your everyday life. I'm your host, Marci Shimoff. I'm a #1 New York Times bestselling author, a teacher in The Secret, and the creator of the worldwide program, Your Year of Miracles. And I have spent my life studying happiness and miracles. And in this podcast, we bring to you extraordinary stories that will inspire you and groundbreaking miracle tools that will show you how you can live your most miraculous life. It is my heartfelt intention that we have a fabulous time together. So welcome to the Miracle Zone. And today I am thrilled to be joined by none other than the legendary Dr. Jean Houston. Hi, Jean.
Hello there, my friend. How are you today?
I am great, and I am so thrilled to get to be here with you, and it's always a joy to get to talk with you. Let me just share a little bit about your background first, and then we'll get going. So for those of you few of you who may never have heard of Jean Houston, she is quite something. Dr. Jean Houston is a scholar. She's a philosopher. She's a researcher in human capacities. She is one of the foremost thinkers and foremost doers of our time. She has been long regarded as one of the principal founders of the human potential movement. I have heard you referred to as the mother of the human potential movement. And Jean is really noted for her ability to combine deep knowledge of history and culture, along with new science and spirituality and human development. And she is really something. And I will say that I have been very blessed in this life to have gotten to be up close and personal with Jean. Jean, I think I first met you when I hosted your 80th birthday party in my living room.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And I have to say that was an extraordinary event because you had so many luminaries in the room, become friends with and colleagues with over the years. It's just amazing. And you know, it was your 80th birthday party. Is it okay that I tell everybody how long ago that was?
Go right ahead.
I believe that was 7 years ago. Are you 87 now?
Something like that. I've long since lost track.
You are truly ageless. And certainly we're going to want to know the secret to that. But I want to start really because we talk about living. And also I should just say that not only that, I've been very blessed to then be personally mentored by you for a year and have gotten your extraordinary wisdom and guidance and clarity. And you are one of a kind. You are one of the most unique people I have ever met in my life. I mean, I walk into your living room. I come visit you once a year, and your living room is made up of amazing treasures from all over the world, from dating back, I don't know how many, 3,000, 4,000 years, some of the things. Share, just for fun, share with us some of the things that you have in your living room. You got a mummy.
A mummy, yes.
You also have, my goodness, you've got ancient things from Egypt, from India, from all over the world. And you got these in your travels, right?
Well, and also archaeology is still my avocation. So every few years or so, I take off and I walk around and I say, I think we should dig here. And most of the time we find something fascinating.
And then your own personal history. In your living room, you've got the briefcase that carried the papers that ended the Civil War.
That's correct.
And how is it that you have that?
I think they thought that they'd be safe with me because there's a lot of political turmoil around that.
And also, wasn't your great grandfather someone who was related to Robert E. Lee?
Well, yes, that, and Sam Houston was an ancestor of mine.
Exactly. Exactly. So
many of the others are Sicilians from, Sicily.
yes.
Yeah, my mother's full name was Maria Nunziata Serafina Graziella Fiorina Perpetua Todaro, born in Syracuse, Sicily. And the rest is all old Texas. I'm a very mixed brew.
Yes. So you have studied cultures and the possibility, the realm of possibility, which I call the realm of the miracle zone. And I would just love to hear from you. How is it that you hold this realm of the miracle zone or possibilities? How do you know that really, exists? How would you describe the opportunity to live in this realm of possibility?
Well, in my own life, I find that whenever I have a very big issue, not so much a problem, but a big, big issue, and I can feel myself just sort of dissolving from my sense of, oh, this will never work. And suddenly I am in a deeper place where everything comes together exactly as it should, even better than anything that I expected. So that the miracle zone, to me, is one of the major aspects that makes us human. Truly. We have a whole arena of life, of possibility, of transformations, of co-creativity with the universe. This is the joy, the power, and above all, the enormous opportunity to explore our humanity. In point of fact, we are in a point in time where we are in an evolutionary journey into the next stage of our humanity. And that's where I'm putting a lot of my attention and teaching now.
Well, for most people, we might look around and say, wow, this doesn't feel so much like evolution right now. It feels like a breakdown. Mm-hmm. So how do we hold the perspective that there is a good future ahead?
Well, you just said the main point, that it is not so much breakdown as it is a breakthrough. We have not been trained to live in the breakthrough. All we know is one darn breakdown after the other. Yeah. Where you put your attention as a human being is where you join the universe as a co-partner in co-creation.
It's hard to imagine how we can get from here to there. And yet I know you speak about imagination as being such a key piece to getting us from here to a better future. And I remember you telling a beautiful story about in the 4th grade, I believe, when you met Dr. Einstein.
Einstein, yes.
Yeah, you want to tell us that story?
Well, I went to PS6. PS6 in Manhattan was the great creative exploratory school. And they made sure that we met some of the great elders of the time. Helen Keller was one of them, And of course, one day our teacher said, "Today, children, we're going to meet Albert Einstein. Does anybody have a good question for him?" "Yes." "Mr. Einstein?" "Yes, dear." "How can we get to be as smart as you?" And he said, "Read fairy tales." Well, we didn't like that answer at all in the 2nd or 3rd grade. "Fairy tales," he said, "give you more interesting mind. And more than a mind, it gives you a larger life to live." Fairy tales. All of a life is a kind of fairy tale, he suggested. Now, I wouldn't say that I live a lot of my life as a fairy tale, but I do live my life as an extraordinary opportunity to be born at the time of the most interesting time and the most potent possibility in human history. It is not, as some of my negative thinking friends say, grow or die. I mean, that's a nice way of putting it. It's evolve so that a larger reality that has been meant for us since time out of mind will begin to bloom in us, will begin to become who and what we really are. We are not simply one particular person. We live in a multitude of selves. In some of my work, that's something that I try to work with people to realize the muchness of all that you are, the many, many levels that we contain. Imagination. Imagination is not some airy-fairy something or other. Imagination takes us into the very depths of human becoming, and beyond that, into an evolutionary cycle that we didn't even know we had. I really work actively with my students on the bringing together of their everyday work and life into the larger life that is looming over them, that is yearning for their attention and their co-creation. We are co-creators with the gods. We are co-creators with the very basis of the evolutionary agenda.
Mm. I so appreciate this because one of my favorite Einstein quotes is that imagination is
Yes.
the preview of life's coming attractions.
Yes.
And so how do we step into, how do you suggest that people can step into that imagination for themselves to imagine their greater life, the life that is calling them forward?
Well, you get used to imagination. That's number one. You give some minutes every day to activating your imaginal genius because you are filled with it. We aren't just, wandering people yearning for what's next. I mean, we're partly that. But we are also on the evolutionary agenda more so than probably any other living process on the planet. And we are in the high times of transition. We are in the high times of an evolutionary happening. Become aware of it. It isn't a bad feeling. Often it's a very luscious, beautiful feeling. But most of all, it's a feeling that we are rising out of the mists of an old and ancient being into the fullness of a new self, a new reality, and above all, a new purpose. We are high purpose beings, my friend, high purpose beings. We have joined the evolutionary agenda to co-create with the universe the next stages, the next possibilities, the next unfoldings of what is lying to many of us dormant within us, but occasionally we wake up. Do you ever wake up with that great buzz of becoming? And there's not a darn thing you can do about escaping it. It is who we are in our fullness, in our ongoing becoming, on our evolutionary agenda, and then begin to take notes about it and begin to notice or even take a period of time. If not every day, then every week, whatever really works for you, when you can give yourself over to the larger time that is yearning for us to join it. And then it begins to happen. Strange synchronicities. I know you live in the midst of those. The unexpected becoming the expected, and above all that, the realization that you are a player in the greatest drama that has ever lived, the drama of our evolutionary unfolding, our high becoming, our being part of the love that moves the sun and all the stars.
That is so exquisite and such a different perspective, I think, than many people have about, you ask people, how are you doing? They say, I'm okay, I'm getting by. It's not what we're here on this planet to do. We are not here to get by. We are here to evolve into these beings that are our future self that's calling us. And as you speak so beautifully about. And I know one of the things that you often that you certainly suggested to me to do, and I found it extremely helpful, is working with archetypes. Will you tell us a little bit about what that means and how we can work with it and why it works?
An archetype in present parlance is an energy of higher order becoming, life, love, creativity. It's the lure of our higher becoming. Now, I have a particular archetype in my life that's been with me as far as I can learn from my mother, has been there even before I was born. And it's the archetype of the Greek goddess Athena.
Will you tell that story about how the story from your mother before you were born?
Well, she knew that when she got pregnant, she and my father got pregnant, she knew that something somewhat different in the agenda of birthing was trying to happen in me and in her. And so she dedicated my becoming to this higher order of life, of love, of co-creativity. I was a dedication. And then when I came into a regular life, I noticed that things were not the same as my friends in school. I had more options if I would take them. I seemed to be in the midst of a great flow of opportunity in the ways that my friends, as far as I could see, for the most part, did not have that. And above all, I felt myself to be one who could be of good use in this world and time, and I committed myself to being of use. Strange kinds of interesting, unlikely people showed up in my life. One of them was the great anthropologist, Margaret Mead. And she would show up. She'd show up and she'd move in. And I would say to her, Margaret, why is it that you seem drawn to me and my family? Is it my mind? She said, no, it's your cooking.
That great Italian cooking.
Well, and much, much more. Even the Irish sneaked in there. But Margaret Mead became my very close friend, and she taught me part of her mastery in the discovery of the depth structures of the human psyche. And from there, I was launched. The depth structures of the human psyche that are waiting within us to emerge, particularly, my friends, in this time and space when we deeply need them. We are not finished. We are in the middle of the human lives. And what is beyond the middle is glorious. If we can really learn to live with glory, we have forgotten that. I mean, you hold it wonderfully well, Marci. You hold the glory and the higher dream. Redeem the time, the poet says, redeem the unread vision and the higher dream. And that's where I think we are in time and history, in spite of all the unfortunate things that seem to be happening around us.
What does that look like to you? What does that glory look like? How is it different than these times? I mean, clearly would be peace in this time. In that glory time. How else would you describe it?
There's more comedy.
More comedy.
There is more comedy. There is seeing the unlikely and the impossible in a comic way. My father was a comedy writer. He wrote The Bob Hope Show, among many, many others. And he always found something to laugh at. And so I found that, I grew up with laughter around me all the time. So it may seem to you strange that I'm talking about the holy, holy, holiness of comedy that lifts above beyond our everyday stucknesses and our problems and and brings us to that high spiritual state of laughter, because laughter is one of the highest spiritual states that there are.
So I would imagine that this, for me, the idea of these times that we can be birthing right now, if we make these choices, would be a time where people are connected to their higher truth, their spirit, what these archetypes, the energy of the archetypes represent. there would be, of course, greater peace and harmony, because as an individual is fulfilled, there is more, there's not a need for conflict. There's not the fear. There's more of a prevalence of love, of the scientists have said, the researchers have said that there is enough on this planet for every human being.
Yes,
there would be proper distribution for humans, and there would be greater flourishing in every way, kind of a renaissance.
Mm-hmm. Well, for example, I mean, yourself, and I've followed your life for some years, you live in a perpetual renaissance. Renaissance comes from rinascere, continuous renewal, and the sheer fun of it. We have within us so many levels, so many layers of our emerging higher humanity. And one of the things that I've been taken to teaching recently is showing people how to get into cahoots, if you will, with that emergent humanity, and not just look for one darn thing after the other.
So what's one thing that people can do to start getting in touch and cahoots with that emergent self and emergent humanity?
Well, it's what you do when you get up in the morning. It's how you start your day, because how you start your day can be the orchestral unfolding of the rest of the day of total possibilities. You expect it. You dance to it. You pray to it. You laugh about it. You have another order of becoming, beginning with the first moments of opening your eyes. And you stick to it. And you renew it during the day.
So it's really an intention. It's an intentional state. I am intentionally waking up in a certain kind of an energy and bringing in a certain kind of energy to set the tone of the rest of my day.
With all your work that you have to do, it's very complex. How do you go about setting your tone?
Well, I wake up with gratitude. We have an amazing, beautiful view, and every morning there's a different sunrise. I open there's an electric thing, the blinds open, and I see the work of a beautiful artist every morning in a different work. I give gratitude for what I feel. I give gratitude for my health. I give gratitude for my beloved husband, the Italian Sergio. And I give gratitude for just the opportunity to speak with you. So I think waking up in gratitude for me is a big part of it. I also meditate in the morning. I really dedicate time to the inner world because I think that's such a key piece. What do you do, Jean?
Well, first of all, just to respond to what you said, where you give your time is where you get your life.
Yes.
Where you give your time is where you get your life. Because I am the recipient of so many people's issues, problems, sorrows. Everybody says, let's call good old Jean. She can help us with this. And good old Jean tries to be available. So that's a big piece of my life, to really be of use, be of help. Again, when I asked Margaret Mead, what is your greatest capacity? She said, well, she lived long enough to be of some use. And I said, me too. That's so that my life is filled with all kinds of options that I take as opportunities. And if I don't see them, I seek them out.
Say that again.
To do of not just being of use, but really deeply caring.
Yes. Well, that is totally my experience of you. And I want to go back to these archetypes because it was such a helpful thing for me. So your archetype, Athena, is the goddess of wisdom.
Yes.
And certainly you are dedicated to wisdom, truth and wisdom. And that is how you serve, is in truth and wisdom. And you encouraged me to find my archetype, connect with my archetype. And my archetype is an Indian goddess energy called Lakshmi, which is, to me, the goddess of all possibility. She's typically known as the goddess of abundance, but it's really the goddess of possibility. And that's what I feel like I help myself do and people do is live in the realm of what's possible in the miracle zone. So how would you suggest that people connect in with their own archetype and how to use that in their daily life to help birth their highest calling?
Well, first of all, we have to have at least some sense of what an archetype is, because archetypes flow through every moment of our lives. They are higher forces. They are, the nudge to the next orders of our evolutionary being. They are love incarnate. There's nothing boring about them. And they may show up in your dog. I'm a dog person through and through. I essentially was raised by a dog. I have a wonderful dog there. But you find that which you truly love as some of the earliest thoughts in the morning, and you bask in it. You don't say, well, I got that I really love. No, you bask in it. You are there in the great field of becoming. And the great field of becoming is not bored with you. And so, hey, she's really interesting. Let's give her some more things that she can do to help this time in this world. And opportunities begin to come in fascinating ways. You are not boring God. You are co-creating the universe with a great oneness.
And this, the reason that I have found this the concept of archetypes and connecting to an archetypal energy to be so valuable is that it's a symbolic energy. An archetype is symbolic energy that you can lean into when it's time, when challenges come up. It's okay. How would I bring this energy to this? How do you work with Athena in how do you co-conspire with Athena?
How do I co-conspire? Well, you just said it, cooking. I bring her into the frontal lobes of my consciousness, 4 or 5, 10 times a day. And after a while, it's not just in consciousness. I am imbued with a whole field of the Athena life. And it isn't just Athena, but she is the major one.
What do you say to people who are really dealing with, lots of challenges? I can't be my greatest self because I've got this husband to deal with, or I've got money challenges or whatever. What do you tell people about their challenges? And maybe you could also relate the Helen Keller story that you have.
Yes. Who I knew quite well, by the way.
Yes.
Yes. Well, you take the big bowl of challenges and you dump them for a while. And you fill the bowl. You refill your bowl with that which is good and beautiful and creative and fun and transformative. Now, that I don't want to suggest that that's immediately easy, but it is a high practice. High practices give us high souls and high selves. And where you want to wake up and say, that was wrong, don't you say, no, that belongs to an older order that I no longer live with. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
You be fun with it.
You be fun with it. There's that lightness again, the humor. We get so heavy, and yet it's the lightness that allows for creativity, for possibility.
How much of your day, as I know, you have a hugely packed day, but how much do you give over to lightness and creativity?
Well, I have to say it's gotten more and more. Every time anything great has come out of some great ideas, it has come from me either being in meditative retreat or in being in joy and play. And then the ideas flow. And I have to thank you hugely, Jean, because you are one of the great inspirations for me to get my puppy. And I am, I'm a new puppy mama for the last year.
Oh, wonderful. Is your dog there?
Yeah, she is in the other room. Her name is Leela. She is a mini golden doodle, and she is just a doll. And you are one of those people who said, you got to get a dog. And why do pets help us open up?
Because they have a simplicity that gives you back what is important: love, fun, creativity, creative naughtiness, the unexpected, and the love that moves the sun and all the stars.
Yeah. Wow. With that, who's not going to go out and get a dog now? Your Olivia is just a total love bug. Is she there?
She's around someplace.
Sometimes I know she likes to make it on camera.
Very heavy snows today.
Yes,
and she thinks the snow is the greatest thing that was created just for her.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So I'm curious, what have been other big influences for you in your life? What has been transformational for you?
Well, the Athena archetype is number one.
Yeah.
But another one is its story, I would have to say. I am deeply fascinated by everybody's story. And where does the story drop off? What can I do to help the story emerge again? We are storied beings. It isn't just one darn thing after the other. If you see your life a story, so that even in simple kinds of happenings, there's a story there. There's an unfolding. Story opens up the genius of the multiple folds of possibility within our psyche. Mm. And then you start helping other people understand their life as story. Mm. And then beyond that, to help others. It becomes a great, great circle of storying for the benefit of the world. And you tell different stories, even the sad stories. You let them open up to the wisdom that they contain.
So what is it that, at 87, you are still, I know, waking up with enthusiasm and joy. And I'm curious, what is it that excites you now? What has piqued your interest and curiosity?
The time we live in. It's the great time of changing. It's the time of evolution for the human being. We're in an evolutionary cycle. I mean, we can look at the world and say, one darn thing after another, or we can say, wait a minute, we're in evolutionary times. What is the goodness that has come in my life in the last week or so? What is it that I'm surprised by that is emerging from the field of time and history? And above all, what is it? How do I want to be in this world and time? When I talked about Mr. Einstein, who I knew, it was Helen Keller. I live each day as if it were my last, and life in all its moments is so full of glory.
I remember that when you were also in that school and you met Einstein, you also went and met Helen Keller. And that's when she said that to you. And will you say that again? It's so beautiful.
I live each day as if it were my last. And life in all its moments is so full of glory. Mm-hmm. Was she damaged? Yes. Was she damaged? Not at all. She had rewoven the remaining filaments of her senses into a magnificent opening to the soul of the world in herself.
Mm. Phenomenal. So, Gina, the last question I'll ask you is, look at you. You're 87 going on 40. Mm-hmm. So is this perspective helped you stay young?
Oh, yes. No question. Yes. There's a lot of life in me that does not choose to die. So it all gets together and they create interesting, funny things to do. And my life pushes me upward and onward and not downward and out. But when I find people, as I often do, who are downward and out, I sit down with them and I spend real time to go over their possibilities. And I'm given to deep seeing, my deep seeing of the depths and the beauty and the creativity and the miracle of who and what they really are.
Mm.
And most of the time that works.
Well, I have gotten, as I say, to be a benefactor of your great wisdom, your vision, your clarity. Things you've told me about my life have opened me up to possibility. And I have to just thank you so much for being such a champion for what is possible in life. And this has been so inspiring. And I know that people want to know more about your work. So it's quite easy to find out more about Jean's work. You just go to jeanhouston.com, and you are, still working with people. I highly recommend, if you have an opportunity to get to work with Jean Houston, do it, or read one of her many books. I don't know, how many books do you have? 30 something. A lot of books. I've been down in the basement of your home, and you've got, I don't know, thousands and thousands of pages that are yet to be published. And you are truly one of the great thinkers and great love beings, compassionate love beings of our time. And I just,
thank you.
Well, I am so grateful to you, and thank you for being here with us. And I want to end with a quote from Jean, who said, "The miracle lies not in achieving the impossible, but in realizing that the possible is within our reach." She said, you also said, Jean, you have within you everything you need to create the life you desire. You are the architect of your own destiny. So I just, any last minute words to us?
A poem. The human heart can go to the lengths of God. Dark and cold we may be, but this is no winter now. The frozen misery of centuries cracks, breaks, begins to move. The thunder is the thunder of the flood, the flow, the upstart spring. Thank God our time is now, when wrong comes up to meet us everywhere, never to leave us, till we take the largest stride of soul folk ever took. Affairs are now soul size. The enterprise is exploration into God. What are you waking for? It takes so many thousand years to wake. But will you wake, for heaven's sake?
Ooh, will you wake? And that is really what your life has been devoted to, is really allowing us to awaken. You have done you have done and continue to do such beautiful work in the service of that. So thank you, Jean, so much. And I also want to thank everybody who's here, who's listening to this. I hope that you are feeling inspired and uplifted and more in the miracle zone after our time together. I know I certainly am. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share this Miracle Zone love with your friends and family.
Wonderful.
And if you want to live more in the Miracle Zone, you can take our free 2-minute quiz to find out what your miracle superpower is. You just go to miraclezonequiz.com. And remember, as Jean has spoken to throughout this conversation, your life of miracles is waiting for you. It is your birthright. And simply by being here, by listening to this, you are taking a step forward into the miracle zone. So enjoy, and I send you all my love.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure, what an honor to be with you today. Thank you.
I feel the same.